Hello, good evening. Live from the News Hub here at Desawe Kanda in Accra. This is News at 10. My name is Stephen Ente. We're broadcasting live from our studios here in Accra and streaming live on our Facebook page and on 3news.com. TV3 is also live on your DSTV channel 279. Let me take you through a summary of the day's major news highlights. Billboards of aspiring national executives of the New Patriotic Party for attention at the Koforidua Technical University. The New Patriotic Party will be holding its delegates conference to elect national executives over the weekend to steer the affairs of the party for the next 4 years. The minority spokesperson on energy, Adam Mutawakilu, has alleged that the chief executive officer of the cylinder manufacturing company failed to follow due process in awarding a 26 million CD contract for the supply of plants and machinery. He has therefore expressed surprise at the dissolution of the board, instead adding the minority next week will present its report on the matter. The Ghana National Association of Poultry Farmers is confident the latest outbreak of bird flu in the country will soon be contained. Over 11,000 birds have so far been culled on various farms in Buankra, in Ashanti, in Koko in Easting, and Tema in the Greater Accra regions. President of the Poultry Farmers Association, Victor Pong Ejay, says there is no cause for alarm. The Ghana Education Service has sacked 4 teachers of the Jusumai Senior High School in the Ashanti region for sexually assaulting some students. Some 9 teachers of the school in March 2018 were interdicted after they allegedly abused some female students. Those are our major news highlights. Remember, we're streaming live on our Facebook page. You can also hear me on 3FM 92.7. Up next is the big one. Welcome back. Now, the acting chairman of the MPP has promised to adequately resource the New Patriotic Party to win elections 2020. Freddie Blay outlined his plan in the lead-up to the MPP Delegates Congress when he spoke on TV3.
I have not said that I, Freddie Blay, am buying vehicles for the constituencies, as you've mentioned. I'm saying that I want to help empower the party at the constituency level with some of our challenges, including how to finance the party, how to empower the party, how to find resources for the party.
Still related to the MPP's delegates conference, billboards of aspiring national executives of the ruling party compete for attention at the Koforidua Technical University. The New Patriotic Party will be holding its delegates conference to elect national executives over the weekend to steer the affairs of the party for the next 4 years.
And posters of all sizes have been draped on buildings and pasted on every available space. Each day, new ones are added on. It's unclear what impact it may have on delegates. That of Freddie Blay, Stephen Ntim, Nana B, Sami Oku, Kate Jemfua was spotted at every stop. When we visited the place for the conference, work was still ongoing on the field. The NPP National Delegates Conference is the first of its kind at the Koforidua Technical University. The Koforidua Technical University was established in 1997 as a polytechnic until it became a technical university last 2 years. Its vision is to be a reference point for world-class science and technology education and applied research. Currently, it has 5 faculties and 19 academic departments running bachelor programs and higher national diploma. Why the choice by the new Patriotic Party for its National Delegates Conference and elections is yet to have any historic connotation. Nevertheless, the Eastern region, specifically Chebi, is the hometown of the sitting president, Nana Akufo-Addo. Perhaps the choice might be to make the NPP much popular ahead of the 2020 elections. For the locals, it will be a time to cash in on sales as they hope for an improvement in the local economy from Thursday up to Sunday, when all activities will come to an end. Already hotels, guest houses, individual homes have all been booked over 3 months now. As far as Tafo, Suhom and other environs have had overflow bookings for rooms as well. Prices of the rooms have shot up as well due to the conference.
Now, allegations of vote buying remains a dominant feature of internal party politics in Ghana. In the lead up to the NPP's National Delegates Conference, some candidates have been accused of monetizing the electoral process to the disadvantage of others. This has reignited the debate over the funding of political parties in Ghana. We're getting onto the telephone lines now. Dr. Edward Brenya, Senior Lecturer at the Department of History and Political Studies at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Good evening, Doc. Thank you very much. Now, any red flags about the purchase of these 275 buses for the party by the acting chairman?
Good evening, Stephen, and good evening to every listeners of TV3. I think that if we are talking about the purchases itself, I think it's not something that we would want to say that is out of place. It's a member of the party who decides that it's going to contribute to things that will help the party to move on. So it's not out of place. However, where it becomes problematic is the timing. The timing that the acting chairman decides to donate the vehicles to the party, which sort of creates an unfair ground for the two other candidates, that is Tim and then Mwakumba, who are also competing for the same position. I think that is where the problem lies.
And there've been questions about the propriety of this gesture. I call it charity in a way, because Freddie Blay is securing funding from the banks, he says, to purchase these vehicles, which he says are meant to empower the constituencies. Now, if we consider that the NDC, prior to when they won power earlier on, invested some $20 million in constructing their head office complex, which became a huge issue for political discourse, and the opposition then, the MPP, took advantage of that to really bash the NDC. Do you not see this as profligate expense, which could have been avoided, and in that way making the MPP unpopular?
Yeah, you see, there's one thing that it looks as if political parties in Ghana do not learn from mistakes that other political parties do. When you find yourself in opposition, every time you see them being very ethical, you see them seeming to sort of know all the good things about how to behave as a political party. But when they come to government, you see them repeat the very same thing that they accused other political parties when they were in government. Of course, 275 passes by an acting chairman. I mean, it raises a whole lot of questions. Already, the acting chairman is telling us that he got the money from banks. Those are questions that could be asked. But the problem is that it has how much money is now taking over an activity that is supposed to be level playing ground for everyone. How much it is becoming more difficult for the ordinary person to be able to stand and win election in Ghana.
And they've been compelling bases, really. I want to ask whether you feel that these compelling bases are strong enough for Mr. Blay to disclose exactly the sources of fund. I mean, I know that he has said that he is securing the loans from the bank, but he made a deposit of about $3 million out of the total of $11 million. Whatever it is, this money must come from somewhere. Should he not be compelled to disclose his source of funding?
Absolutely. Everywhere in a serious democracy, definitely, Mr. Blay would have to sort of let Ghanaians know where the money is coming from, how he's even going to pay. He paid $3 million out of 11. Left is $8 million. Where is he getting the money from? That is a huge sum of money. But of course, we are in a democracy where once you are in power, everything you can do everything and go scot-free. But definitely, it is something that we should have asked questions and tried to get answers from.
Do you think this is likely to come back to haunt the MPP in the near future, just as they haunted the NDC for their methods of spending? I mean, John Mahama, during the latter stages before elections, was procuring buses for the STC and for other agencies, but he was seen as putting in machinations for vote buying.
Well, definitely, it is going to be something that the opposition will take advantage and sort of criticize the ruling government. But for now, you know, the NPP is still in the honeymoon. It's still enjoying the sympathy from the people. Whether or not this is something that NDC can actually capitalize on and use it against the MPP is something that is too early to tell. But it's one thing that would definitely come up.
And do you think funding political parties, for example, could take away all of these funding challenges political parties are faced?
Oh, absolutely. If the state decides to fund political parties, then there will be a mechanism that will require political parties to show the source of funding. And a mechanism to also limit who can contribute to the political party as is done in the U.S. Because we don't have that right now. Individuals, political parties may take advantage of any form of assistance that they can get from individuals, groups, or even from outside the country, even though the law doesn't allow that.
Right, Dr. Edward Brenya. We'll leave it here. We're grateful for your time. Dr. Edward Brenya is a senior lecturer at the Department of Political Studies at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I'm Stephen Anti, and you're watching News at 10. We're broadcasting live from the News Hub at Adisawe, Kanda, in Accra. And around the world, you can follow us on our live stream on Facebook and on 3news.com. We'll be right back with more news. Welcome back. Now, a senior research fellow at the Institute for Democratic Governance, Professor Joseph Achu-Ayi, has suggested local governance reforms being attempted by the government should be done in phases. This, he explained, will enable citizenry understand the process and buy into it.
The local governance reforms being embarked on by the government include creation of new regions, election of metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives, and the possible involvement of political parties in local governance elections. Professor Achu-Ayi is of the view the reforms should be handled in such a way that it would not confuse the populace.
Ghanaians are very, conservative. They don't want to take too many reforms at a time. And I think that's the culture of the country. If you want to bring too many reforms, we get confused. So I think a phased approach to the reform will help the Ghanaian understand the issues. So let us do the referendum first, then we can have the consequential reforms, the constitutional, legal, financial, institutional, capacity building reforms, so that people understand the reform and then they buy into it. If they do not understand the reform, they are not going to buy into it.
Kwesi Jonah, a senior research fellow of IDEC, indicated the need for the country's electoral cycle to also be reformed.
Every time you hold an election, the attention of the nation, even of all the politicians, is diverted onto the election. Now, you go to Parliament during election time and see how many members are there. Everybody is out. So the few months before elections, MPs don't go. So what we are saying is, if this is going to be the case, can we find a way of putting our elections together? We need to reform the electoral cycle itself to make sure that all the elections are conducted in one day, and then we forget. We begin to think about the country's development.
And the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, has tasked government to make available to the public the report of the Intra-Qua Committee, which investigated the dispute between the board and Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company. Executive Director of the COPEC, Duncan Amoy, is of the view that a full disclosure will help determine whether the CEO was involved in any procurement breaches.
We are not fully satisfied. We believe strongly that the myriad of issues raised bordering on procurement breaches, bordering on corruption, bordering on malfeasance and maladministration, for which we know a report has already been occasioned. We want the report published. We want further and better action if indeed the CEO is complicit in any of the allegations that were raised against her by her own board. As it stands, the board is dissolved. That is good news. We do not think that the board should suffer a collateral consequence for exposing corruption. And so we think that indeed, whatever the board saw for which they raised the issues they raised, if we are done with the investigations, we need to publish the report. But we don't think that the CEO continuing to function in that office is helping in the fight against corruption. We think that it sets a bad precedent for corporate governance in Ghana, and the CEO must suffer the same fate as the board. And if indeed those procurement breaches were occasioned, she must also be dragged to court to answer for them. We are hoping that within the next 1, maximum 2 weeks, we would see some action further from the president. We believe that for an executive president who wouldn't want to condone corruption and all of that, where a supervisory board indicts the CEO, we would have wished that the board's decision earlier to suspend the CEO would have been left to stand. If we don't get to the bottom of this, other CEOs of other state-owned companies may also now begin to see themselves as thing gods who may act not in accordance with the laws, but would also decide to go solo because their boss will not have any teeth at all to bite, even if they breach the laws.
On the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communication, GIFEC, is to extend information and communication technology projects to 300 rural communities across the country by the end of the year. Administrator of GIFEC, Abraham Kofi Asante, noted the agency plans to expand its scope in bringing government services to the doorsteps of Ghanaians.
The Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications, GIFEC, is an agency under the Ministry of Communications. The agency is mandated to provide ICT connectivity to underserved and underserviced communities across the country using its Smart Communities project. This is to bridge the internet gap between peri-urban and urban areas to position Ghana as an IT-driven country. Administrator of Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications, Abraham Kofi Asante, stated the agency has adopted an accelerated approach to development of connectivity for rural communities.
In 2017 alone, we were able to connect 200 communities. In 2018, we have the plan of connecting another 300 communities. In the past, from 2005 to 2016, only 117 communities were connected. And we also do capacity building, and we have a lot of innovations introduced in the area of our deployments.
He indicated GIFEC will also be providing ICT projects that are suitable for children.
Moving forward, we plan to expand our scope by building capacity in the area of coding for kids, and also trying to do more in the area of the community information centers, where we're going to bring on board all the government services to the doorstep of the rural folks.
GIFEC picked 2 awards at the 2018 Ghana Information Technology and Telecoms Awards in the areas of connecting rural Ghana and outstanding contribution for ICT development in the country. E-Crime Bureau was adjudged the best cyber security company of the year. Business Operations Manager at E-Crime Bureau, Philip Dankwa Deborah, challenged institutions to craft guidelines and policies concerning their cyber environment to prevent cyber breaches.
Institutions need to be cautious about the systems that they bring in, who is bringing them in, where they are coming from, because if you have a culture where we introduce certain systems, networks, people into an environment, and we can't guarantee the extent to which the actions can come back to affect, the businesses that we are running. And for cybersecurity, it has gone beyond a technical issue into a boardroom management issue.
On her handbag containing valuables got stolen at the 2017 grand finale of the National Science and Maths quiz. Guess what? The quiz mistress was spotted at the 2018 finals with a paper handbag. Also, Araya reports even the paper bag had 3 police officers guarding it.
In the midst of the wild jubilation last year, the quiz mistress lost her handbag containing valuables. The leather bag was later found, but without her phone, car key, and ID cards. But hey, unpleasant experience, they say, induces caution. The quiz mistress arrived at the 2018 final without the usual leather bag. Rather, she brought a paper handbag. A stout police officer was spotted holding the paper handbag. That was an impenetrable security. That was not all. 2 other police officers stood alert, all guarding Dr. Kaufman's famous paper bag.
Yes, we live to learn, don't we? Yeah, so I have everything I need in my paper bag. It's working well for me. You can see that I'm wiser. You see that we now have security holding on to my paper bag. And so everything is in order.
After a hard-fought contest, St. Peter's SHS from Nkwetia won the 2018 quiz ahead of West Africa Senior High School.
Everything indeed is in order. That's how we wrap up with News at 10. Thanks very much for staying with us. On behalf of the crew, good night. There is more news at 3news.com.